How's everybody doing? Glad you came through. So, what I'm quickly going to talk about is how the best traders are ready and not fearful or anxious, right? 1K a day on a Friday. And the reason why I have that screenshot, if you watch the screenshot of the thumbnail of the video, is a guy breaking the glass out of his car using that particular device that you use if you're trapped in your car, if you're submerged, is because I want you to help you understand the idea of being ready, not fearful or anxious. Many people operating in this society, they're very fearful, they're anxious, they want the people around them to be anxious. And then when they are successful at making the people around them anxious, then they say, well, why are you so anxious? But the last 30 days, they've constantly came at you with news to make you anxious. It's a very weird thing, right? But as a trader, what you want to do, and something I've hoped to communicate to people, is the way I've seen people make money in this market for an extended period of time and be very successful is they have conditions in which they're looking to trade under, and they're not anxious or fearful about the situation. What I mean by that is that they have a certain scenario that they're looking for. And once that scenario presents itself, they take advantage of the situation. And then if the scenario's not there, they don't do anything. I was successful today in exiting out of multiple trades. Well, I played spot put. So let me get myself out of here real quick. Well, you can see it without me being out of there. Let me get rid of this real quick. I played this whole move down. And you see the really, really large volume of selling here. I played this whole move down. I just got out of my puts. Me exiting out of those puts, they was going to expire next week. I made about $1,000 in profit on the puts. Then exit out of some other puts. So I made over 1,000. And I'm probably a little bit over break even for the month because I lost about 1,000 last week trading. So I didn't have this great month, but I had a decent day. But we understand the average person working in America, they're not under any position to make $1,000 in the day doing hardly anything, unless they do maybe commission sales or maybe they're driving trucks, right? My tow people can make $1,000 in a day based on where they tow from. But what I'm telling you to understand is that the money comes from understanding the conditions. So when I woke up this morning, I read that China was doing a move to where they're going to put a tariff on boats entering their country from the United States. So we knew there was going to be a reaction from Trump. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. He came with that reaction about the time you start seeing these particular bars start showing up. So a little bit late in the morning, around 11 o'clock is when the tweet, I wouldn't say the tweet, the post came out from Trump from his social media, then it gets put on all the social media platforms about how most likely he's going to institute more tariffs against China because they're supposed to be having a meeting there in 2 weeks. And his attitude is that they're undercutting kind of like the good intentions of the meeting by what they're currently doing. The United States and China are engaged in a lot of economic warfare. I have an appreciation for Trump bringing that to the forefront. And I know that once he's out of office, it's never going to get brought up again because it's never been brought up before now, right? So you got to take the good with the bad in every situation. But I have a lot of appreciation for him actually taking the economic piece and putting that on the table and saying this is an issue. And nobody else has done that. Most Republican presidents, all they want to talk about is social stuff, cultural stuff with no economic analysis. We know that the same thing with the Democratic Party, no economic analysis. Have an appreciation for somebody that says, you know what, we're going to take this economic piece and we're going to make it central to our campaign. If we notice, the news talks about every other thing except that. They still, because the goal of this society is to make sure people don't understand certain things. So even though you got a president that constantly puts the economic piece on the table, the media doesn't talk about it at all, regardless of what perspective that they're talking about, because they're in line with the goals of society, right? So that's what's going on. So that's why we had this really, really big sell-off. Now, what do I know about these type of sell-offs? People put on what we call hedges. So if you go here to the VIX, and let me see, can we get it to pull up? We see that the VIX spiked at the same time. So as the market's selling off, the VIX is spiking, which means that people are putting on hedges against this market continuing to sell off. Now, what do I know? Because I've been doing this for a little bit of time, what happens when the VIX sells off? The cost of puts goes up because why? Hedges are now more valuable. So what does that mean? It's a good time to get out of puts. So what I did right before I jumped on here is I cut a lot of stuff. I cut off stuff that wasn't even going to expire to 26 because the day may be the day I make the most money on it. So as a person that owns insurance, you want to sell your insurance to people when they're looking to buy insurance. So it really doesn't matter how much time I had on it. To me, today probably been the best day. I think the market recovers on Monday because I don't think we open up on Monday with a VIX in the 20s. I don't. I could be wrong, though. The VIX may be in the 50s on Monday. Who knows? Because we don't know what Trump's going to do between now and Monday morning. Who knows? Nobody knows. Right? So that's what I want you to understand. So because I'm inputs and I know that I'm in an environment where the puts go from 16 to 21 in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes, this may be the best day to get out of my hedges because why? People are looking to buy hedges on stuff because the market conditions have changed. So what I want you to understand is that the way I've seen a lot of people really, really successfully trade is they have a reason why they're going to go into the market and they wait for that reason. They don't have, the reason is not, I want to make money today. The reason is that this is a good opportunity based on what I'm looking for in the market for me now to go into the market. It's not that I want to make money today. Because I don't buy these spot puts if the market's not doing this. I don't buy spot puts. Why would I buy them? Because if you look at the SPY, we just been going up the whole time. So why would I buy puts on the SPY? But when you understand why this move is taking place, you understand what a SPY can potential. So I bought 674 puts. I bought at the money. I bought in the money where we last started to trade at to go all the way down, go to the next week. And I got out of them for because I know now people looking to get hedges on their positions. I wouldn't buy puts under any situation. Now, I don't care if the market keeps selling off the rest of the day. I'm out. So I don't care. I done did what I needed to do today. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is you see the same behavior in every market. If a person's looking to go into real estate, they ask themselves, what numbers am I looking up based around real estate? And they wait for that particular situation to show up. They're not looking to buy just to buy. Because why would you do that? What if the numbers don't work? Oh, I just want to buy something because I'm looking to make money. Well, how do you know that this is a good situation for you to make money? I don't know. I just got money. You have to really start changing how you look at these markets because smart capital is waiting for an opportunity and they're not waiting for everybody else to do something. Because I know people that didn't trade this because they're long the market, but they're waiting for their situation to present itself because there's so much variety and there's so much opportunity in a really, really diverse market. Let me show you something else. And this makes me happy to see because that's really the goal of what I'm doing. Let me stop the share. Let me share this out because this is the goal of what we're doing here. Because if you notice, I didn't tell you I called nothing out to nobody. Okay, so this is in my YouTube channel. And the people that can see this are the people that think they're in the Tiger Shark and up. So Miss Phoenix 91 says, after my VIX alert rang in, entered an 11.19 contract at the $20 strike price. 30 minutes later, exited with a 30% profit. Miss Blossom and Bloom says, I was cooking lunch, came back. My VIX calls was in the money. Gotta love Trump sometimes. I'm happy that they was able to get a profit out of this situation because it's not just about me making money. It's not about me telling you, hey, you need to trade this right now. Right? Because really, I'll be working during the morning doing so. I'm trying to manage a project based on the course level. But at the same time, I'll be watching the market. So I'll be doing multiple things at the same time. But the fact that they was able to get a profit from it, from what they understood from being around me, their own education, yada, 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 I'm happy for them. Most people can't trade the VIX. They have no idea how to trade the instrument. I don't even really trade the VIX like that. I have some VIX hedges on just in case things go stupid, but I don't really trade the VIX like that. But I'm happy that they're able to trade the VIX because here's what a lot of VIX traders do. They wait for this type of event and then they go in. Because based on how much capital you have is how much you can pull out of the market. So a lot of VIX traders, they just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And they wait for the VIX to spike. They go in, and then when the VIX spikes, they trade the other side of it on down. Because most of the time, the VIX doesn't stay up for an extended period of time unless it's the pandemic or we go to war. So a lot of VIX traders are going to trade it up. They're going to trade it back down. And then they're done. The GLD, let me show you something else. And I'll put this in the Discord. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I know I'll put it in there. Let me go to the 5-day. Okay, put in the options chat in the Discord that somebody bought 300,000 calls at 370 on GLD to expire next week. Now, here's what I believe based on everything that has transpired over the past 72 hours. My bad, I didn't change that out. Let me show you on the GLD. Here's what I think happened. And this is just me being speculative, just doing speculation. So we look at the GLD jump up, right? So that's a synthetic version of the gold market. We see this massive gap up on the 8th. I put in the Discord that somebody had bought 300,000 calls expire next week at 370 on GLD. If somebody buys 300,000 calls on gold, it's because they know something. What I think they know was what we saw happen today, was that China was going to come off with those particular tariffs on boats arriving at their shores. The United States was going to react to it. And as a result, we saw GLD spike up. But what made it spike up was the call action. So that's what I mean is that when you see somebody lay out that type of position, they're not laying out that type of position because they're guessing. Nobody's guessing with that kind of size. And if you look at GLD, you don't normally see that kind of position laid out. They're not Apple. They're not Tesla. They're not those type of tickers. Nobody's laying down double-digit millions on GLD to expire next week, and they don't know something. That's not how this works. But again, if you're constantly pecking, what can happen is your account will run out of money before the situation presents itself where you can take advantage of it. And so that's what I'm trying to get you to understand. We talk about managing capital. A lot of times, once you learn how to trade, trading can become addictive. Or you're trading because you're trying to live up to the expectations of somebody else. And they're not, because they don't really understand how markets really function, because all they know is a 9-to-5 job. They don't know that situations have to present themselves for you to pull money out of the market. Same thing in real estate. Same thing in the car game. They have to present themselves. If their attitude is that, well, I need you to show that every week you're doing this, you'll make trades you don't have no business making. That's why I don't tell people to trade as a full-time thing. When I talk about full-time trader, I don't mean that's your only source of income. Because if the trade's not there, you can't make a trade. The trade has to actually be there. So with GLD, that trade could have made your whole year if you got enough capital. If you had $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, that trade could have made your whole year. In fact, you'd have made more money on that trade than most people make working all year. Because nobody's laying out that kind of money on a short-term contract and they don't know something. And so we saw GLD sell off a lot yesterday. And then we saw GLD spike up again today based on that news. All around the same time, around that 11 o'clock hour. It went back up to 370. So to me, this was the trade. Okay, it's just that the call action, because of what the market maker has to do when somebody lays out those type of calls, they had to go in there and start buying up GLD, which made it spike up to 372. It sold off from that level that went back to 370, now around 367. What I'm trying to get you to understand, and I'm trying to help retail traders understand, is that you have to create a situation in which it puts you in the best position to be successful in the market. Many people are trading based on what somebody else told them. They don't have a scenario that they want to operate under. And the reason why is because they won't sit in their house and cut everything off and just sit back and think about it. They just won't do that. But they want to make money. But they won't do that. Just take 30 minutes, cut everything off in your house, and ask yourself, based on what I understand about the market, what's going to put me in the best position to be successful? And create a narrative based on that. And then say, okay, if I paper trade this narrative, does it work? And then paper trade a narrative enough times where you feel like I got a level of success with it, and there's a high probability that this setup will work, and then go execute it in a live market. People don't want to do that. So they lose money nickel and diming themselves. Then they wash out and they start to do something else. But they do that in every market. I know a guy that he used to teach people how to do remodeling for the real estate game. Fix it, flip. And I went to one of their events. They show you like the house they built, yada, yada, yada. He told me, and he didn't just tell me, he told everybody at the event. He teaches people the process. They go through the academy, the school. And then what they do now is they try to find a home immediately to fix and flip. Because now I went through the program and I paid this man this money for this mastermind. Now I immediately got to find a home to flip. So they go to any wholesaler they can find and they just buy whatever the wholesaler got for them. And they come back to him and say, what you think about this house? And he says, the house is a piece of S. It's going to cost you more money to get this house up to speed than you ever be able to get out of the home if you can sell it. But they're so anxious just to get something going, as opposed to saying, here's a scenario that works based on what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to just sit back and wait for it. It'll present itself. I'm in a big real estate market. The Metro Atlanta real estate market is a big market. Something to come up, just got to wait your turn. Because every deal is not going to work for you. You can't do the deals Mark Spain can do. Mark Spain got a whole lot of money. He can do a different kind of deal. And he can let homes. Mark Spain own homes in Alabama. He owns homes everywhere because he got a big pool of money. So he don't have to always take the best deal. He could take subprime deals or subpar deals and sit on the way for them to get better. You can't do that. You got one house at a time money right now. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you get rid of that anxious and fearful spirit and just prepare yourself and learn what you're doing with synthetic trading. I'm doing a trading strategy right now. I'm testing it out, right? And I'm really learning Thinkorswim because I got to use Thinkorswim to test it out and learning some of the limitations of Thinkorswim. But I'm testing out a whole new strategy. I'm not ready to go live with that strategy with money yet. I don't know what I'm doing enough. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be tripping trying to go live with that strategy. I'm just going to lose money. So I'm gonna test it out, keep testing out all the way through the holidays, keep testing it till I figure out really what I'm doing. But it's a brand new strategy I'm implementing. So what I want you to understand is that a lot of people, they're just anxious to do things. And it's because they don't really know what they're doing, or they start doing something and in the middle of it, they switch up and do something different. And they switch it up and do something different. And you're not going to make money doing that. The reason why I'm good at trading the way I trade, because I do it over and over again. My breakdowns are always going to be psychological. They're not going to be because I don't know what I'm doing. Most people are fighting psychological breakdowns and the fact they do not have a strategy around what they're doing. I pretty much trade the same way over and over again. And anybody that watches what I post in the Discord, I'm looking for the same stuff over and over again. I'm looking for the same setup. Right? I did a webinar last year, a little bit early in this time, talked about the same thing. I'm looking for the same setup over and over again. I'm constantly looking for that setup because to me, there's a high probability if I get that setup, I'm going to continue to get continuation around that particular situation. So that's what I want you to understand. Many of you are going to struggle in this space because you do not have a situation that you're looking for. And the reason why is because you will not say, you know what, let me just sit down for 30 minutes and think of something. You just won't. I don't know why you won't do that. I don't know what the resistance is. I don't know if you think a demon's going to show up. I don't know what's going on. But many people struggle to just sit down for 30 minutes and sit back and think about, let me come up with a scenario that works good for me. And then let me paper trade that scenario to figure out whether or not it works, it don't work, to get my confidence, to get some repetitions in, and then take it from there. The resistance to do that, I don't know what it is. Maybe you're really not here to be a successful trader. Maybe you just here because of the excitement. I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, that's what I know works for a lot of people. I know a guy who who's managing a book of $11 million. I know a guy that's managing an $11 million book. And you know what he told me? I don't buy puts. And you're talking to somebody that all I do pretty much is buy puts. That's his strategy. That's what works for him. He does not buy puts. He sells puts, but he don't buy them. His whole mentality is that the market is going to go up 90% of the time. So why I'm going to worry about the 10%? That's what makes him money. That's why he got a book. Book started off at 1.5 million, like 5 years ago. Now it's at 11 million. He just been playing alongside of the market. That's what works for him. So he told me, I do not buy puts under any circumstances. If he says, if I think it's going to sell off like that, I just don't buy it. But I don't buy puts. So he's looking for a certain setup to go along with where he can buy long and sell puts. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something totally different. It don't mean I can't learn what he's doing. It don't mean he can't learn what I'm doing. But he got to where he's at by being consistent in what he's doing. He also got way more money than me. He started off with way more money than me. And I got to where I'm at by being consistent in what I'm doing, not jumping all over the place. So that's what I want you to understand. A lot of people are struggling because they don't have a game plan. They just don't. They just freelancing, and they're being caught up in what they see moving in the market. And if that's not your trade, that's not your trade. And so when you get out of the idea that you got to make a trade every day, or I got to justify what I'm doing because of what other people's expectations are, you can sit back and wait. Because with this GOD trade, if you had to wait 6 months for that, but you had enough capital, you'd have made your year off that one trade. Now you're done. But you got to sit back, wait, and then you have to be in tap with the market. So we talked about people having alerts, people being aware of what's going on. That was a trade where it wasn't a day trade. It was a trade that got put on, and then people got made aware of it. And then we saw the next day, we saw the gap up. But it wasn't like something that you had to trade off the 15-minute chart. It wasn't that type of situation. So that's what I want people to understand. I'm not going to be here that long because it's just an impromptu video. But I've seen people make a lot of money in this space, and everybody that I've seen stand the test of time is because they have a system or a process that they're operating under, and they really don't care what anybody else is doing. Because there's always somebody making more money than you in this space. None of you gonna make as much money as Berkshire. So I wouldn't even worry about it. I wouldn't even focus on nobody else's numbers because none of you gonna make more money than Berkshire. So everybody that you see on YouTube talk about how much money they made in the market, they didn't make more money. Berkshire got more money in cash than the money that they'll ever gonna make. Berkshire got billions in cash. So Berkshire has more money in cash that they're not even trading than anybody on YouTube talking about how much money they made in the market. Right? No matter how much money they make. So I wouldn't play the comparison game. I'll figure out how I can make my situation work best for me and what I need. Because based on where you live, you might not need as much money as somebody else. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So hope you got some value from it. Any questions or comments, hit me up in the comments before we jump on out of here. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Pascal, man, appreciate the $4.99 super chat. So Mr. Montgomery says, how did you get so good at generating ideas off things you read? By sitting at home and just thinking about what I read with everything off. That's how I got good at it. So reading and sitting at home and thinking about what I read with nothing else on and taking 30 minutes, 45 minutes and just thinking about it. That's how I got really good at it. Because something, Miss Montgomery, that I realized, and I realized this when I was a child, is most people do not have their own ideas inside their head. They have somebody else's ideas that they think they're theirs, and they will fight because those ideas have taken a place in their head. They'll break their neck to defend those ideas, but they're not even their ideas. So the average person doesn't really know what they think about anything because why? They never thought about it. So they just, it's whatever. That's why I talk about people will argue with me over somebody else, but they won't argue with somebody else about me. That's something I look for in relationships. It is because the average person doesn't have their own ideas inside their head. They think they do, right? Because if a person knows enough math, they'll never come to the conclusion that the earth is flat. That's somebody else's idea. Because if a person actually knows enough math, they could never come to that conclusion because mathematically it's impossible. So that's an idea that other people have inserted in the heads of other people who don't know enough to be able to discern whether or not that's true. So that's how I got so good at it. And I'm not really that good at it because I do make a lot of mistakes. It's just I've gotten good enough to be able to create a narrative based on my seeing the market a certain way because I just sit down and think. And that's just really what I do. And then I try to put myself around support systems where people are supporting what I'm saying. They're not constantly trying to destroy what I'm saying because, again, most people are trying to destroy what I'm saying, not with their own ideas or with somebody else's ideas. Something Amos Wilson got me to understand is that the average person doesn't have any thoughts. They have the thoughts of somebody else put inside their head. That's why, I'm a free thinker, yada, yada, yada. It's not true. But that's a thought that somebody else put in somebody else's head. It's real. It's very, I wouldn't say it's deep, but it's very consistent in how this society works. But that's a great question. Pascal says, paper trading is helpful. Don't forget to read 15 to 30 minutes per day. Definitely. Read as much as possible. Cedric Webb says, traders expecting money to come in like a pattern, like bi-weekly, a month, like a paycheck out of job. Most definitely, Cedric Webb. And that's what people are attracted to, is that daily pay. And it can happen, but it cannot happen. Some people get really good at daily trading. I'm not against it. Money is money. But again, I also know a lot of people that make money based on waiting for a certain situation to present itself, and then they take advantage of that situation. Right? Same way, if I'm looking at real estate, I say, hey, I want to go into a market in the metro area of my city. I wait for the numbers to work in that market before I go into it. I just don't go into it because that's what I want to do, even if I have the money, because I could be overpaying for it. Pascal, most people follow us in our conformance. Yeah, Pascal, but the only way our society can work if most people conform to whatever the prevailing narrative is. Right? If anarchists, what they want would destroy our society. And I'm not calling you an anarchist. I'm just saying what anarchists want would destroy our society. The only way this thing works if everybody goes with the prevailing narrative. What I try to help people understand is that a lot of times these prevailing narratives are designed to marginalize certain groups of people to make sure that they don't have anything in this world, or to make sure that people are always agitated and mad and upset, or to make sure that the average American has terrible health, especially as they get towards the end of their life. But they need people to conform to stuff to keep the thing going. So anything now seems like non-conformity because of how kind of like mainstream a lot of narratives are. But to me, just telling people to read 30 minutes a day is non-conformity, because the average person can't read. Like literally, we live in a country with 300 million people, and a large percent of that population reads 5th grade or lower. So just telling people to read is nonconformist. Telling people to cut everything off and just sit down in their house and just think is nonconformist. Telling people to not eat out as much is nonconformist. Like, just now, these things are so prevailing in our society. Just doing the basic things are nonconformist. But the way you keep a society going is you get everybody on the same page. It's just, what is that same page? We live in a country where it's very conformist to consume alcohol. So if you just tell people, hey, don't drink, that's nonconformist now, because everybody drinks in America. So but you can't manage a society if everybody does what they want to do. The question is, what are they telling people to do? But yeah, most people are followers, but societies don't work if people don't follow. No problem. I'm glad you got something from it. So why do I think people sit back, wait for their setup to appear before making the trade? Anxious. They're very anxious. They have a lot of anxiety. And Mr. Webb, trading can become addictive. Trading is really not that hard to learn. What's hard to learn is behavior modification. Because if a person is impulsive before they become a trader, then they just become an impulsive trader. And once you learn the power of trading, especially if you spend a certain amount of time in the market, you see setups all the time. The question is, should you pursue those setups? So I believe that Williams-Sonoma, I believe that Wayfair, and I believe that Restoration Hardware will continue to sell off. The question is, do I take capital and put that behind those trades? But I believe they're going to continue to sell off because they get a large amount of their products from China. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I believe they will continue to sell off, right? So let me show you. Let me go to Williams-Sonoma. Most people don't even know about Williams-Sonoma, but that's a whole different conversation. So here's their yearly chart. They almost had the 200-day moving average. But here's their monthly chart, right? I believe they continue to sell down off 200. They may get a little bit of recovery Monday, but I believe they continue to sell down off 200. Same thing with Wayfair, right? Same thing with Wayfair. Now they're well under they're way above their 200 on the yearly. Here's the monthly candles. The monthly chart on the 30-minute candles. I believe they continue to sell down off that 90. Now they've sold a lot since this month has started. They've been selling the whole month. Then we got Restoration Hardware, right? Here's their yearly, under their 200-day moving average on the yearly, and then here's their monthly. I believe they continue to sell off. The thing about Restoration Hardware, they're a very, very small float. It's like maybe 20-something million shares. So you can get a lot of snapback really, really bad on this particular ticker. But Williams-Sonoma and Wayfair is a much, much larger float. The question is, right, should I pursue these opportunities or should I just bank my gains? So the thing about trading is that you're always having to make a decision with capital. And sometimes, and this has even happened to me, people overextend themselves trying to make more money, right? Because now I can lose what I just made on good trades. But I believe those tickets continue to sell off. I really do. And they've had a little bit of volatility, especially Williams Sonoma, I think has the most opportunity because of where it's trading at. So let's go back to the yearly, right? I think puts at the $200 mark to go under that 200-day moving average on the yearly. I think when this thing is over, they're probably trading. I think in 2026, they're going to be trading around 170. I could be wrong. They think they have a tariff mitigation process. Let's see if it plays out for them. So because I know how to trade, Mr. Webb, I can always find an opportunity. I can always find a trade. There's never a day in which I can't find a trade. The question is, based on my portfolio, what I'm trying to do in the market, my risk assessment, is this a good opportunity for me to take? Because I don't have unlimited money. But I can, Mr. Webb, I can find you 10 trades right now to the downside based on what's going on in the economy with these tariffs. I can find you 10 trades right now. I just found you 3. I can find you 7 more trades. The question is, do we need to take these trades based on our portfolio objective? Or should we just sit back and maybe wait for a much better opportunity that can present itself? So I just really think that people, Mr. Webb, are not used to a setup showing up, because the way they make money with their 9 to 5 is every day they labor for their money. And I know how that feels because I've done it. In fact, I still do it as a self-employed person. So they're used to being busy. Something I learned from a guy that makes a lot of money. He make a lot of money compared to me. He make about probably $30,000 a month. He says that because we don't come out of a leisure class, we don't really know how to be at leisure. So we have a whole segment of the population that thinks that somebody, like, they don't know how to have somebody else at leisure too. So they think I should be at leisure, but like a man should just be a slave for me. They don't understand a scenario where both people are at leisure. And there's people that live their life like that. Well, it ain't just the woman's at leisure, the man's at leisure too. Because of their investments, because of the businesses they got, everybody's at leisure. It's like an eternal vacation all day. So I think a lot of us struggle with not feeling like we have to do something because of how we've been programmed, but also because of our consumption. Many people try to live a rich lifestyle on a 9 to 5 salary. So they got to just keep going all the time. So, Mr. Webb, I just think there's a lot of things that people bring into the markets that impacts how they look at the markets once they get in. Because I'm all about relaxing, but my question, how much money are we spending? Because the money got to get made some kind of way. Because I don't have like an investment account to where, it chips off $300,000 a year in interest fees. So I really think that's the issue, is people just aren't used to a certain type of attitude around trading where they think they got to always be doing something. And really, sometimes you just got to kick back. So Mr. Shaver says people need to start finding books they like to read. I started reading mathematics and technical books. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think people should read whatever they like to read. But the issue, Mr. Shavers, is people cannot read. So I don't think the issue is liking to read. I think the issue is people, I don't know if I'm using the proper term, have the capability of reading. I think reading is very difficult for a lot of people. So they avoid it because for some people, if they have to read something, it'd take them twice as long than if they have to watch a video. With me, if I have to read it, I can read something twice as fast as watching a video. I'll be putting videos on 2x speed because I can read faster than how most of these people talk. Because when you hear me talk, part of me talking fast is genetics, because of where my people originally are from. A lot of it is that I read this fast. So when I'm trying to, like when I'm reading stuff on live stream, I'm really reading faster than I can say the words out of my own mouth. So I just think for a lot of people, their capability of reading is not very strong. So it'd take them twice as long to read something as it'd take them to watch a video, which is why I believe so many people are drawn to video content as opposed to sitting down and reading. Because you're talking about somebody that is very much into my faith. And it amazes me how many people will not just go read the book. They won't. They won't go read the book. It has to be something on video that's going to open up this door when they was given instructions to read the book. They was never given instructions to watch a video. So that's the world we live in. We have not really worked to make sure that there is a reading level that is a floor for every American, and come hell or high water, you're going to get to that reading level. We just haven't made that a standard inside our country. What messed me up initially was I would get in win and feel like I have to go back in the market right after. I understand, Mr. Webb, I've fallen victim to the same thing, and I've been trading longer than you. I don't think that ever stops. I just think managing it is what people have to get better at. But I'm the same way. I'll have a good run and then feel like, well, let me go into this. Because like I said, once you learn how to trade, Mr. Webb, you'll always see a setup. The question is, we have to learn that we're going to take the best opportunity, not just a opportunity, right? Take the best opportunity. So today, the SPY was the best opportunity. There's other opportunities, but it wasn't the best opportunity. So we'll see how the market opens on Monday, because I may look at Williams-Sonoma on Monday if we get a little bit of a rebound. But I think they continue to sell off going into next year. But I'm really short. I'm short the real estate market going into next year for 2026. That's what I'm short. I think the real estate market's going to have, I think these companies based around real estate going to have a lot of issues, even with a lower rate. So that's pretty much going to be it. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Stay encouraged. Hope you have a great weekend, and put yourself in the best position to be successful. Don't compare yourself to other people. I know it's hard. I do it sometimes myself. You look at other people, you can't figure out how they're doing what they're doing because they look like suckers. You know, the game, you know, something I learned from some people that's really in the streets for real. You know, you'll be surprised who can get money out here, but it got nothing to do with what they really represented this game. And I had to accept that, you know, like for some people that really like they for real was really about what they was about. Just got to accept it. So get out of the comparison game. You know, it's all kind of weird stuff going on out here, and really focusing on what you got going on and your people. And I think it'll put you in the best position to be successful. Y'all stay safe, man.